What's going on, friends? Logan Myerz here for Cinephellas.com. It's an exciting day for many of us fans that have been waiting for the streaming service to be released. I'm talking about Disney Plus. So excited to go through the catalog on Disney Plus and go through the old movies I haven't watched in a long time, a lot of the old cartoons from like 40s, 50s, 60s, a lot of the early Pixar movies, Star Wars movies, revisit those, all the 20-something movies in the Marvel Cinematic Universe. Just a lot of great content on this. And I will tell you, just from using it for a little bit this morning, it is fantastic. It's a little bit glitchy because I'm sure a lot of people are streaming, probably overloading the servers and things like that. But a lot of people are definitely checking this out. Probably one of the best streaming services out to date with, only being $6.99 a month. That's pretty cheap to have the entire catalog of Avengers movies and Star Wars and Pixar and cartoons and everything. Even the X-Men cartoon from back in the 90s is on this service, which I'm so excited for. This morning I woke up, immediately turned on my TV, signed into Disney Plus, and watched a brand new episode, the first episode of The Mandalorian, the newest show by the Disney streaming service in the Star Wars galaxy. So let's talk about it, shall we? So the setup of the show, this was created by Jon Favreau, huge fan of his. He was a creative mind writer for The Mandalorian and getting this show put out there, and I'm so glad he's attached to this. The first episode, we're introduced to Pedro Pascal, the Mandalorian himself, the bounty hunter, a lone gunfighter, essentially, in outer reaches of the galaxy, places we haven't seen before in any of the films. In the Star Wars galaxy, we have not seen these areas and creatures and characters. So there's a lot of great setup in the first episode of introducing the Mandalorian himself. He's pretty much like a suave, has swagger, and also has a comedic sense to him throughout the episode. He came across a lot of different people, a lot of different creatures and things like that, and he had some really comedic scenes. I absolutely love what Pedro Pascal did with this character, and definitely the standout performance in the pilot episode. What I absolutely love from the first episode of The Mandalorian is the atmosphere that they're building, the production value as well, the use of practical effects and CGI to create these monsters and creatures and different sorts of life throughout this area where the show takes place in this galaxy far, far away. Just a lot of characters, things we have not seen before, the introduction of them, the way they looked. Some were menacing, some were kind of funny looking, and also introducing a lot of characters. And the first episode felt like in the realm of the first 3 Star Wars movies, and also it felt like in Rogue One, how gritty and dark it was, had a really raw feeling to it, and I like how they captured this in the first episode, and it definitely doesn't feel like a TV show. It feels like a movie, just the way everything looks and the production value and the way they use effects, and it never really lets you go. It just keeps you involved in the first 40 minutes, and then you're at the very end of the episode like, fuck, I want to see the next episode. And that's how I felt this morning. Other characters they introduced in this episode, which I was really stoked for, is the return of Carl Weathers, Apollo Creed himself, Chubbs from Happy Gilmore, him in Predator, so many great flicks back in the day. He plays Grief Karga, and he has the scene in this episode with, obviously, the Mandalorian, talking about some things, but just really great to see him. And it's going to be really great to see what they do with his character throughout the series. Hopefully they flesh out his storyline and it all makes sense later on in the show. Other actors and comedians, there's a lot of people involved in the show, behind the scenes and on screen. Brian Poston, the comedian, he has a part in this episode, which is really funny. I spotted him. And Horatio Sands is in a part of the episode as well. He's playing this like blue creature. And I actually didn't know that. Henry and I were shooting our Cinephellas podcast earlier this morning and talking about more in depth about The Mandalorian because we both watched it first thing this morning, and he brought up that Horatio Sands played that character, so that was pretty good. I haven't seen that dude again in a while in anything like TV or movies, but you probably won't recognize it because all the makeup and prosthetics they put on this creature. And Horatio Sands plays the bounty. That's the name of the character, the blue character, so keep an eye out for him in the episode. It's pretty good. So The Mandalorian takes place after the original films, after the Return of the Jedi, and this show takes place in the outer reaches of the galaxy, places we haven't seen before. Like I was telling you, the Mandalorian is far away from the New Republic, so he's on this adventure, this voyage, essentially coming across a lot of different people, introduction to a lot of characters, and exactly trying to set up the Mandalorian himself and where that character is going to go throughout the remainder of the first season. And other characters you get introduced to along the way, and I don't want to spoil too much, but leading up until the end of this episode, which is probably my favorite part of the entire episode. There's a lot of great action, a lot of great scenes of fighting with the Mandalorian. One of my favorite characters they kind of show at the end of the episode with the Mandalorian, I'm talking about the bounty hunter droid or bounty droid IG-11, voiced by Taika Waititi. And he's obviously no stranger to the superhero universe, Marvel Cinematic Universe. Fantastic director, hilarious dude. And it was great that, you know, he played this character in the episode. Really had some great scenes with the Mandalorian. And setting up my favorite shot of the episode as they walk into this place, they kind of knock down the door, and the camera's back off, so you see the door kind of fall, and they walk through. Is really cool. Really well shot. I love that scene. And also introducing at the very end of the episode a familiar face, if you guys are huge Star Wars fans. Anybody around the world would know who this is, but they introduce a character and kind of setting that up as to what will happen in the future episodes of The Mandalorian. So that was a nice little treat that we got at the very end, and I did not see that coming. I did not predict that, other than them introducing a younger version, a 50-year-old version of this character. And that's all I'm going to say about that without spoiling anything. I want you guys to see this and enjoy the ending as much as I did. So overall, I had a great time with the first episode of The Mandalorian that is currently available on the Disney Plus streaming service. The second episode, I believe, will be up on Friday, so I'll be checking that out and hopefully doing another review of my thoughts on the second episode. But I absolutely had a great time with the first episode. Pedro Pascal playing the Mandalorian himself, the way he wore the armor and the helmet and everything, it just worked. I love the voice, the comedy he throws into this. Has some swagger about him. He's good with the gun. I'm really interested to see where they're going to go with this, or the story. Are they going to flesh everything out? Is it all going to make sense? And exactly what's going to happen to the Mandalorian. So overall, I'm going to give the first episode of The Mandalorian a 4 out of 5 bounty hunter hair pieces. So I want to hear from you guys. What did you guys think of the first episode of The Mandalorian? What did you like about it? What didn't you like about it? Did you guys subscribe to the new Disney Plus streaming service? Let us know in the comments below, and don't forget to hit subscribe. This is Logan Myerz signing out. My good mate up here, The Mandalorian. Oh, Pedro Pascal. Until the next video review. Cheers!